Kishshana, thank you so much for stopping by the Funraise booth and talking shop.
Always a good time when we get together.
I know. I can't believe it's the first time we've met in person.
I know.
But I blame the pandemic for that.
That's it. But this ends today. So now when I find myself on the West Coast, I'm going to be like, hello, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
We'll
show you a good time in LA.
That's what I like.
So a few questions for you.
Let's do it.
Maybe before we jump into the juicy stuff. Just give us I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're thinking here in 2022, just as it relates to nonprofits, fundraising.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're most excited about, either iterating on top of or working with your clients?
So what I see right now happening has been so curious to me is that we talked coming into the pandemic about the leadership shift that was supposed to be happening. Folks were retiring, folks were stepping down from their roles. And so we were supposed to see this big leadership shift. And because of the pandemic, folks were like, hold on a second, wait a minute. Let me stay in place. Let's figure this thing out. And so what I'm seeing now, particularly with my clients around talent, is that folks are starting to shift again back into okay, I'm ready to step down. I'm ready to transfer leadership. Who am I transferring leadership to? Who needs to be in the leadership seat? And so really helping folks to understand how to navigate the changes, and that younger professionals who are coming into the sector are coming in with more education earlier on. They're credentialing earlier on. They are more tech savvy and excited about leveraging technology to do their work and wanting to align with organizations that are moving in more of an innovative way as opposed to in a catch me if you can and catch up kind of way. So those are some of the things that I'm seeing right now with organizations and the work I do.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've definitely seen something similar. And what I've really liked is, aside from the fundraising and the marketing, seeing organizations actually really leveraging technology for their programs.
Yep.
We're talking to an individual earlier who they delivered goods and services across the world, and during COVID they couldn't do that. And so they started using drones to drop off these goods and services.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, really, really cool. And so my hope is that this type of innovation will continue just to accelerate, because I think it's going to make stronger, more successful organizations.
Absolutely. And I think that organizations who make the choice, so this point is now a choice to not and I would say leverage technology, and there's things that are tech enabled and there are things that are tech activating in order to be able to do their work, in order to be able to exercise and activate mission, are going to get left behind. And I think that we just don't have the luxury of doing things the same old anymore.
Absolutely. So going back to the leadership pipeline, going back maybe, I think it's been 2 years.
It feels like forever.
It does feel like forever. And being in person again, it feels like it's hard to be how do you be social? I kind of forget how to be social. But the question about the leadership pipeline is, it seems like it's a prime opportunity for organizations in 2020 following the death of George Floyd.
That's right.
Where we, talked very aggressively about DEI initiatives.
Woo!
And,
it was so aggressive.
and made big, bold statements and mandates.
Bold statements.
And so you think that with a leadership sort of transition, that this would be a great opportunity to really embrace some of those actions. Have you seen that actually manifest? Are we moving forward? Have we moved backwards? What's your perception?
I think that we're moving backward, or at least in quicksand, and here's why. What I saw in 2008 when we had the market crash the last time was that folks of color, and particularly Black women, and I identify with that because I'm a Black woman, are typically moved into positions of power at a time of real crisis, and then are under-resourced, have helicopter runways to fly 747s, and we call that the glass cliff. And so you're in a situation where you get this transfer of power, but you get this transfer of power without runway or without the purse. And so what I'm seeing right now is, as organizations are trying to figure out what's next, folks who were put into those positions in a manner of crisis, who weren't successful for many of the reasons, and success is subjective, but who weren't successful, are sort of being blamed we could have done something different. And so people there's a reticence in being able to actually really step out and do the kind of recruitment, do the kind of scaffolding, do the kind of succession planning that would actually make true some of the promises that foundations and institutions and organizations and tech firms and so forth made during the height of, I call it freshman year of the pandemic, particularly around protests with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. So what I would like to see is organizations not just throw stuff at the wall and hope something sticks, but to actually resource the process of being able to make sure that when there's transitions of power, that they're done so really thoughtfully. And if you're going to operate from an equitable approach, understanding that you have to resource it to do it, and it takes time, and to align with professionals who can help you do that.
Are there any organizations or companies that you look at that you're like, they're doing it right? They're a good poster child or a good organization to at least learn from that's been highly effective?
I feel like a lot of the affiliated organizations are trying their best. So I look at a CIS, communities and schools. I look at what the Boys and Girls Club are doing. So the reason I'm looking at these federated larger models, because that to me from a footprint perspective have lots of different smaller organizations in different populations and parts of the country where they have to answer to and address what the local climate is in addition to what the national organization is doing. So I'm seeing a lot more learning and development money being put into federated organizations. I would love to see smaller organizations get more press. And so the reason you asked that question, I was kind of like, immediately I can think of 2 or 3 large organizations that come to mind, but they have more money for branding to be able to say, look at me, this is what I'm doing. And so smaller organizations who might be doing really amazing work, if they're not getting the press behind what it was a necessary shift in business, we wouldn't know as much about. So I got to think about that, because I feel like there are probably lots of organizations that folks will be like, and this one, when they hear this, and this one, and this one. And I'm like, did you get press on that one though? Yeah. So that's something that my team, as we do more leadership and management coaching and training this year, are really working on, is what is the research and what does that look like for the organizations that are really doing best in class work.
Okay. And are your clients, are they exclusively nonprofits, or do you work with for-profit companies as well?
No, actually, my smallest percentage of clients at Kishshana & Co. right now are nonprofit. Okay. So I work with, on the nonprofit side, large, federated, complex, matrixed organizations. And so if you have affiliates, if you have spinoffs, if they're separate 501c3s, networked organizations typically is where I stand, in institutions. But most of my work, actually, believe it or not, are in tech firms, in fintech, and in cannabis.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, yeah.
And so a lot of them want to do like CSR work. They want to get into social good. They want to make sure that they're diversifying their teams alongside their values in a really healthy way. Because I come from a fundraising background and I raise money for social ventures, which are like fast growth. You have to get in and, make sure you're leveraged really early. A lot of my donors were from the VC world, et cetera. So because I have that background, then I get hired to do like sales training and stuff like that, and my team does. So it's been a natural shift. Yeah. To move into that work, and been so much fun.
Is any key sort of differences between working with like a nonprofit and some of your for-profit or tech clients?
The speed at which people move and the cash they have to move it. And so a lot of times, depending on so I work with folks who have done either on their second round of raising, they've moved on from their initial raise, or they are more stable and they're starting to move into more mezzanine funding for how they're being capitalized. And so I noticed that they'll hire lots of bright people, but they may not necessarily have the experience, time on the ground, or they are switching, or they're straight out of school. There's something there in that sort of skill experience mix that's not quite right. And so money moves things, right? Yeah. I read a quote. Who said this quote? I think it's the guy who wrote the book, Who Not How.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I'm having a brain fart.
Not Cynic.
No, not Cynic. It's going to come to you in the shower, watch.
It's probably
okay, so the quote, though, is, best I paraphrase it, if you have money to solve a problem, you don't have a problem. Huh. And what stuck with me, I don't always think that's always true, but what sticks with me in that is that what I've seen in terms of the difference between nonprofit organizations who are not as well resourced and working with fintech and tech firms who are, is the speed at which they're able to try to solve a problem.
Interesting.
And they're like, how much is it going to cost? That's the question that I get them on. How much?
Yeah.
How long? How many? With nonprofits, I have to talk about mission alignment in a different kind of way and make the case in a different kind of way. And so it feels like, it may not be true, but it feels like working on the corporate side of folks are more apt to move because they're trying to grow.
Yeah. I agree with the quote, but
you even
also slightly
so
disagree with it. Well, this is because the MacArthur Foundation did a really interesting research on the negative impact grant-making foundations have in communities.
Yes.
And it's because you have people in the boardroom making decisions where money's going.
Yep.
They control the money.
Yep.
But the people on the ground, whether it's the the community organizations and so forth, they're not actually they don't have much of a say on where the funds is going to go.
Absolutely.
How it's going to be used. And so I think money solves the problem, but it's how is the money actually being facilitated?
Yeah.
Is
that's
just
exactly it. Who has access to the purse? And I think I used to always say to my team, all money is not good money. This time's for us to say no. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice. No, thank you. That we need to be able to do with folks. And so I agree with you in that nuance in that quote. And what I took from it and what I continue to take from, particularly quotes where you're you give a little side eye, is that what do I understand from what the situation is creating? And I think that right now we're in a space in the sector and in folks who service the sector. So the thing that has been such a transition for me is moving away from direct service and organizations do direct service to the companies that serve the sector.
Yeah.
So I'm able to stay a subject matter expert in the work and also understand the business that happens that is a part of the ecosystem of the work.
Yeah. What's influenced your niche, what you focus on with your business? What would you say? Is it just like the experience year after year kind of building it? Or was there anything that like happened in your life that like was transformative that you're like, this is what I want to do. I want to invest my time and skill sets in?
Gosh, I think that the thing that made me really focus on leadership and management specifically, and then really a lot on women in the work, is that there are so many overlapping, not so great things that happen to many women I know in the sector, of everything from sexual harassment to discrimination around race, around gender, et cetera, to being maligned. And I was like, we got to do things better. And how many of us have not had a bad boss at like some point in our career? And I was like, we can do this better. Like, this does not have to be trash. And so my lived experience alongside what my teams have experienced, and because I had the luxury to have large teams and also the gift to have large teams, I'm able to see how leadership can look when you allow folks to have room to grow and to be themselves, and when you don't. I think the other thing that's really informed my work right now, my company's work, is if fun is one of our values, core values, so it's on our website. Like, if this is not fun, you can't come. Like, I am not interested in working with folks and having my team members work with folks where we cannot, at the end of the day, even when the work is hard, we do a lot of transformational work and change management. Like, if we're not having a good time, what's the point? What is the point?
Life's too short.
Life is too short, and there's too much good work to be done. And so that has really driven my curiosity.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's actually kind of a tangent, but side note is that's actually why I named Funraise, dropped the D, is because I felt like if so many nonprofits, like their fundraising development teams, they're like, they like hide in a corner.
Oh my gosh!
And it's just
they're
like,
goes over there.
This is opportunity. Like, this is like the best part of the nonprofit industry, in my opinion, is raising funds, and
I agree.
So it should be fun. All right, so I know this is about to start the main session here.
Let's
so
do it.
what I want to do is this rapid fire questions.
Do it.
All right, here we go. All righty. Favorite movie or series?
Oh my gosh, favorite movie of all time is Coming to America.
Coming to America. Tacos or cheeseburgers?
Cheeseburgers.
Beach or the mountains?
The beach.
The beach. Me too. Digital reading or an actual book?
Digital reading now.
Oh, really?
I know.
I have an actual book,
but I buy all the books. So I have the physical book for every digital book I have.
Okay, but it's just easier to carry.
I listen first or read first, and if I like the book, then I go and highlight the physical book because that's how I memorize.
Nice. Okay. Okay. I like that. Ice cream or froyo?
Ice cream, man.
Ice cream.
I mean, if you're gonna have gas, just have it. Just enjoy it. Get the good stuff.
That's true. Frozen yogurt's overrated in my opinion.
It really is. It's not that great.
All right. This one's been a contentious one today, so I hope you're ready.
It.
Football or football?
Football.
Yeah. Right. That's what I think.
Hello.
Absolutely. And this one's kind of tough too.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Moana or Aladdin?
Oh, I'm an Aladdin girl.
You got to sing the song.
A whole new world.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, awesome.
That's the right one?
That was actually Little Mermaid.
Damn it. Hold on. I did that. No, I'm about to sing Beauty and the Beast now. That's my word. I'm trying to run down every song, and I'm like, still not the right one.
My child's you have a high schooler now. You're beyond the
That's it.
Disney
Forget
movies,
it. I'm not watching Disney anymore.
Kishshana, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. What is the right song?
So Aladdin is...
That's 100% the song.
Was it really? Oh my gosh.
I was like, really?
100% the song.
Wait, A Whole New World is Little Mermaid.
No.
For the record,
the Little Mermaid
Kishshana was right, Justin was wrong.
No, Little Mermaid is, look at this stuff, isn't it neat?
You were 100% right.
Hello, I sang that in choir in high school. Like, I was like...